So, I'm Igor, and this is a public service announcement to you. Just release the track. You're wasting time. You're not going to become a pro mixing engineer before you finish this track, even if it takes a week, or a month, or a year. In fact, your mixing level is unlikely to improve at all above anything of the tiniest level, and the longer it goes on, the more diminishing returns you will show. Anyway, that's all. Yeah, you can click off this video. The rest of this video is just going to be me showing you proof of why this isn't going to work, and if you don't do this, how much you will actually improve. So why do I actually say just release it, you're not going to improve? Well, because if your goal is to become a pro-level mixing engineer before you release this song, so that every time you release music, it's at pro-level production, then the way to do that is not to work on one song and keep refining it and refining it and refining it. The way to do that is to stop writing altogether and just focus on mixing for a few years. Now, you don't have to do that. You can keep writing, just mix them to the best of your ability, and then move on to the next song, which is what I suggest. And more importantly, you probably don't even need to have a professionally mixed score or song or track or whatever. Like, honestly, if you don't make enough money off your art that you can't afford a professional grade mixer, then you probably don't need a professionally graded mix. But I will admit there are a few caveats here of times when that isn't true. The first is if this is super important. Like I'm saying, the success or failure of this song or track or album or whatever directly correlates to the success or failure of your career as a composer or singer or whatever it is. For example, prior to COVID shutting it down and screwing me over completely, I was working on a project for a AA game that was well above my level. I was insanely lucky to get the job, and if it had come out, the reach would have been quite large, and if people had seen that I had wrote a bad score, it would have done worse for me than not doing it at all. However, if people had seen that I did a great score, of course I would have been amazing. So for that reason, if it's along those lines, then yes, I do agree, take as long as you need to get, well, as long as you can, I guess, as deadlines, but as long as you need to get the best quality sound. Now, of course, COVID screwed me over, but that's not the point here. The other reason is this is your magnum opus. This is what you truly believe is your best soundtrack or your best song or your best single, your best hit, whatever. And yeah, there are a couple reasons why that's important, that it does sound good. For example, it's the song that everyone will know you for. So if it sounds dodgy, then that might be reflected on you. Or you're going to hear it over and over and over, and if there's something in the mix, it's just going to stand out more and more over time, and you're going to hate it. Sure, that's fair enough. But that's not really the case at all, right? I mean, let's look at Trivium, only because I saw this on Instagram the other day. They asked their fans, what's a song that you would like us to play that we rarely ever play live? And the one song that was voted more than any of the others was Ember to Inferno, a track that is quite dodgy if you actually listen to it. I'm not going to play it for copyright reasons, but the guitar tones are a bit how you going, the drums aren't the cleanest, the vocals were before Matt was an amazing singer, and it's kind of wobbly and there's no really color in it, he's just trying to hit those notes, and many other things that make it sound not polished. But that doesn't stop people from loving it, that doesn't stop people from requesting it every single time. That wasn't just this time, by the way. Every single time, this is the one song that people want played. And hell, it's not just metal. I mean, look at Led Zeppelin. Almost all of Led Zeppelin's songs were recorded so long ago that they weren't a very good quality, just because we didn't have it at the time. It doesn't stop people from loving the tracks. And one more example, Billie Jean. This drives me insane. There is a shaker in Billie Jean that if you didn't know this somehow, you don't have ears or something, this will ruin the song for you. But there is a shaker in Billie Jean that goes the entire time, and it is so ear-piercing and mixed so loud that it drives me insane. But despite this, I still listen to Billie Jean. New people who have born yesterday in 10 years are going to hear Billie Jean and go, this is an awesome song. It doesn't stop just because of the mix is bad. And if it didn't stop for Led Zeppelin or the biggest metal band at the time right now or Michael Jackson, it's not going to matter for you. Anyway, those were the 2 reasons, or 1.5, I guess, to not release your song. Now we're going to talk about all the reasons you should release it, and I'm going to use myself as an example. Firstly, again, you're probably not releasing these tracks because you want to be able to mix tracks at such a high quality that they're perfect. But the way to do that is your improvement is going to be so much slower doing 1 track a year than doing 12. And me, as someone who's never studied mixing, I'm living proof of that. I simply released a lot of music, I mixed it all myself, and every time I learned a little bit. So listen to this. And then listen to this. There is a very clear difference between my most earliest released track and one of my latest released tracks. But, okay, fair enough. Different styles, different VSTs. Okay, sure, fair enough. Well then, let's listen to these. Versus this. Now, many of the libraries that I used in that were actually the same libraries that I used in this. Yes, there were some new ones in this, and there were some old ones in this, sure. But for the most part, they actually used the same albums, sample libraries, I should say, and they're both in a very similar style of epic symphonic orchestral. But hey, again, well, maybe it's not that I'm actually a better mixer or a better engineer or whatever, and it's just that I've learned how to mix specifically orchestral music, which is a bit of a moot point anyway, because most artists write in one style. Artists and composers. It's rare that you'll find someone who might write in 1,000 different genres. They're normally known for something, and that's what they do. So it's weird to say then, oh, wow, Skrillex only does EDM kind of things. Why hasn't he done something that's classic reggae like Bob Marley, or some jazz, or some of course not. That's what artists do. So I don't know what we're talking about here. But let's look at Psycheus, my solo metal project, which again, I record and write and mix everything myself. This is one of the earlier albums that I mixed. And then here is the latest album that came out late last year. Now, I think you can clearly see a very clear difference in the quality of mix from one to the other. And again, void of like a few tracks like this one that might have some like metal influence in them, I haven't done any metal mixing at all. Barely any guitar mixing, not drum mixing like that. So I would argue that that shows pretty clear sign of improvement. And the point that I'm trying to say here is that to actually improve, obviously it's better if you start actually like taking a course or a class or something like that. But you will improve a whole lot more in however many years that was by simply working on over 200 different songs in different styles than if you were to just work on 1 or 2 songs and make them absolutely perfect. And I know most of these, if not majority of them, were soundtracks, but they're not all like orchestral. Some of them are orchestral, the majority are, but some are symphonic orchestra, some are small chamber orchestra, some are jazz, some are enki, some are country, some are... And again, the point is each time you work on a track, they all have something different about them. Even if they are the same soundtrack, the same style, the same genre, different tracks require different things from them. And when you go and you just try to make a change, you learn what to and what not to do. And this works considerably better than micro-adjusting the same track over and over. Now, I will admit, occasionally I have looked up things that I just can't work out myself, like how do I get rid of this pick noise, or how do I compress the horns without them sounding squished, or something like that. But the majority of what I do just comes from me listening to a track and going, it's just too muddy. How do I stop the muddiness? And then I try a few different things. And the ones that work are the ones that I do again. Or the flute is just so piercy. How do I get rid of the ear pierciness of it? Try a few things. Figure out what works. And yeah, you could obviously improve a lot better by maybe asking someone who knows what they're doing, or by taking a course or something. But it's not necessary. What I'm saying is you don't become a good mixer by mixing the same song. You do become a good mixer by mixing lots of different songs, and your career gets a lot further by releasing those songs too, rather than just doing test mixes on random stems from the internet. And just before we do go on to that next point of how much my career has improved from actually releasing music versus not releasing music, let's do one last test. Different genre again. This one was for a soundtrack that never got released. Sort of EDM-y kind of style. By that I mean just electronic music. I don't know what genre or whatever. And then this that I'm working on now. And might I say, this isn't even mixed. This is still in the composing stage. Yes, I've done a little bit of mixing with it, but that's more like leveling and kind of just trying to make things clear and stuff, as opposed to the actual mixing stage that I do when the composition is finished. What I'm trying to say in this video is, if you're still watching, you have to be someone who has not released a lot of music in the last 3 years. And it's probably because you do fall under this of, I want it to sound the best, I don't want to release something that's subpar. And you can be the judge of this yourself, but has that improved your career? From what I've seen from the people around me in the same situation, no, not at all. They are no further forward than they were before. And I'll admit, the peak of my career was prior to COVID 6 years ago. And then that all died, COVID, no one's fault, let's say, whatever, moving on. But 4 years ago, 3 years ago, my career is considerably further ahead than it was 3 years ago. And I have released stuff. Now, has that music stopped me from getting other jobs? Maybe. I mean, I can't really know, but I struggle to believe that it did. I mean, at the time when I applied for jobs, sure, maybe they said, they listened, they went, yeah, this isn't up to the quality of what we want. Maybe. Still got jobs though, so that's something. And does it affect me nowadays? I really doubt it. Again, I'll never know. I mean, they ask for some examples, you give them some examples. I really doubt they listen to those and go, yeah, these sound amazing. I want to hire this guy. But let's listen to what he released 8 years ago on SoundCloud. Like, I just don't see it happening. As far as I can tell, I am considerably further ahead with little to no repercussions, negative ones, from releasing subpar music. And now the music that I release, whilst it's still not perfect, is an improvement and it's quite nice. You, in 5 years, will thank you for releasing the music now, working on new stuff, becoming a better mixer, better writer, and all that. So go, do that. Have a good day. Ciao, ciao.